We finally see a shift in top lane priority for this patch with nerfs to Boots of Swiftness. Kayn joins the top 3 for jungle, and you're going to need to take advantage of Fiddle support before he gets nerfed. And it is no secret that League's ranking system, well, let's just say it's designed to trap you. It pulls you in with those games where everything clicks and you carry hard, only to balance it out with frustrating matches that feel unwinnable from the start. Now this cycle keeps you grinding, hoping for change, but never quite breaking through. We've all been there. What most players don't realize, though, is that escaping that cycle requires specific skills and strategies that are tailored to your exact rank. That is where SkillCapped comes in. We are the only service in the industry that has invested millions of dollars into identifying what actually works at every tier. Our challenger coaches, they have mapped out the best and the most useful strategies that turn hard-stuck players into consistent climbers. We're so confident in our method that our business model depends on your success. Climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped or claim a full refund. No questions asked. Stop wasting time on the rank treadmill and start climbing today with proven strategies designed specifically to break through your current rank. So check us out by clicking the link in the top right corner or in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. So the solo carry list for top lane is finally going to see a shakeup for 25.9 with Riven joining the top 3. Nerfs to Boots of Swiftness along with the adjustment to the Swift March upgrade is going to have Urgot and Kayle on weaker footing for 25.9, so they are dropping out of the top 3. And Riven is next in line to move up as she has been great in recent patches and is even indirectly buffed for 25.9 due to the Ignite changes. Ignite is receiving more damage level 6 onwards, so you're going to have a little more all-in threat on your level 6 spike now for 25.9. Knowing how to trade effectively is really going to be a huge factor as to whether you succeed with Riven or you fail with Riven. Riven is one of the best top laners in the game at punishing enemies for wasting cooldowns due to her high mobility. Now there are few champs who can match the short trade power of Riven early on because of the CC, mobility, and shield that her kit provides. Knocking an enemy up with Q, stunning them with W, and then retreating with E is going to have you winning out on every single short trade in lane, and you can use this to generate a health advantage. Now we actually have a brand new course just released on our website from a rank 1 challenger that's going to teach you everything you need to know about trading in lane, so it's a really good resource regardless of who you're playing top lane. Now there are a few matchups that you want to try and avoid when picking Riven, most notably Renekton. Renekton with his shield breaking mechanic on W and point and click abilities really make it more difficult for Riven to win out. Riven build is pretty straightforward right now as you rush Eclipse, go Sundered Sky second, and it's going to be situational from then on out. Now for the rune page, you're taking Conqueror with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, followed by Biscuits and Jack of all trades for secondaries. Back in the top 3 for top lane, and one of the best fighters that you can play right now is absolutely Set. Set's a really great top lane fighter for solo queue because he's not all that difficult to pick up, but at the same time, he has incredibly strong outplay potential when you've taken the time to learn the pick. Now, being that a lot of Set's damage is going to be coming out of his Q and from just auto-attacking, if you get an early lead with the champ, you can just stat check enemies so easily. This makes it so that if you can learn your matchups with Set and consistently generate an early advantage, then extending that lead and snowballing out of control, well, it's actually quite easy. Ignite buffs for this patch are amazing for Set as well, as it just adds to his ability to stat check enemies when he's had a lead. Now, something that feels great about Set that not all other top laners have the luxury of is that point-and-click spell to isolate a fed carry. Set's R allows him to single out the fed carry on the enemy team really easily as long as he has his flash available, and this means as long as you're playing well yourself. Doesn't matter as much as to how fed the enemy ADC or mid laner gets. Volibear and Riven are 2 of Set's more difficult matchups, so either is worth a ban. The best core build for Set revolves around a Stridebreaker rush into Hullbreaker second and Overlord's Bloodmail third. It's Conqueror for the Keystone Rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Second Wind and Overgrowth are the best secondaries. So to round out the top 3 for top lane, we have far and beyond the best skirmishing top laner that you can play being Warwick. Warwick has been a very strong top lane pick all season long, and things honestly just continue to get better for him lately as other top laners just got nerfed. Darius, Garen, and Mord all being nerfed recently is great for Warwick as those are 3 of his most common matchups. Warwick actually has a really good time playing into Mordekaiser as his win rate is up above 54% in the matchup. Now for the most part, Warwick does play quite well into the majority of fighters as he doesn't have an overly negative win rate into any of them. It really is just the Teemo matchup that most Warwick players struggle against, so he's going to be a good ban to consider. Warwick is one of those top laners to where the more time you put into him, the more you're going to get out of him. It's not like Garen to where there's not a ton of skill progression, as Warwick's kit really does reward being able to play on the edge. Warwick's kit becomes stronger the lower he drops on health, so this is why taking Barrier as a secondary summoner spell is so strong and it makes the champ very rewarding to master. The amount of times you're going to be able to bait the enemy into fighting you while low on health, only to turn the fight in your favor and pick up the solo kill, will be of plenty. For your build on Warwick, it's a Blade of the Ruin King rush into Stridebreaker 2nd, and either Spirit Visage or Sterix Gauge 3rd. Your rune page should consist of Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Second Wind and Revitalize for secondaries. Solo carry for jungle is going to have a new look for this patch, as Kayn is going to be joining the top 3. As long as you're building Kayn optimally right now, he's a really strong jungle pickup for solo queue. The Voltaic Cyclo Sword rush build on Red Kayn is absolutely dominating the meta right now. By rushing Cyclo Sword, you have some really nice early to mid-game snowball power. The passive slow on Voltaic is also incredibly powerful for Kayn because it allows him to guarantee that his knockout from W hits. After going Cyclo Sword, it's Black Cleaver 2nd and Spear of Shojin 3rd for some much-needed durability. Kayn is a jungler who wants to be full clearing in most games unless there's an incredibly free gank angle, so maximizing your clear efficiency is really important to finding the most success with him. And our new jungle clear course is going to be the best resource out there if you want to take your jungling to another level in Season 15. Meta junglers who can out-duel you early on are always good to ban when picking Kayn, and right now, Volibear is one of the better options. For Kayn's rune page, you want to take Conqueror with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, followed by Freeboots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. A jungler that everyone would benefit from having in their champion pool right now is absolutely Volibear. Just such a powerful yet simple to play jungler, and this is exactly what you want for consistent success in solo queue. Ever since his meta build of Cosmic Drive and Flicker Blades has been discovered, Volibear has been an elite solo queue pick. The skirmish power with this build is absolutely godlike, as you have such low cooldown abilities to just thrive in extended fights. And if your comp is already quite heavy magic damage, then there's the alternative Black Cleaver Rush into Iceborne Gauntlet that can work just as well. So in terms of a blind pick jungler right now, there's really nothing better than Volibear, as you're able to adapt to each game incredibly well. Without R available, Vola is more susceptible to being kited quite easily, so using your ban on a meta peel support like Braum or Lulu is always going to be good value. For the rune page on Volibear, grab Lethal Tempo with Triumph, Haste, and Last Stand, followed by Freeboots and Jack of all trades for secondaries. It's these AD fighter junglers who are taking over the meta for solo queue right now, as we've got Xin Xiao rounding out the top 3. Xin and Voli are definitely two of the strongest options right now if you enjoy playing junglers who can skirmish well early on. A lot of Xin's damage is point and click, so it really makes the champ super oppressive for solo queue if you can acquire an early game lead, which is what he's really good at doing. If you can exercise basic jungle fundamentals and play towards whichever lane provides you with the best gank setup, getting yourself some early kills and looking to accelerate from there should really be your approach going into each and every game. The build finding the most success for Xin Xiao for solo queue is a Titanic Hydra Rush into Sundered Sky 2nd and Black Cleaver 3rd. The Titanic Rush isn't as popular as Eclipse or Sundered Sky Rush, but it's really underrated for solo queue due to its amping your clear speed and helping you get out on the map faster. The more you can be looking for ganks, the better, so Titanic Synergy is really going to be great for Xin. The only matchup in meta that most Xin's players are struggling against right now is Volibear, so he's going to be a good ban. Optimal rune page consists of Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, while Freeboots and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. A mid lane mage who's looking to break back into meta for 25.9 and our first solo carry mid of the patch is Hui. Hui just got directly buffed in 25.8, and now for 25.9, we're seeing a lot of other champs around him getting indirectly nerfed. Rod of Ages is going to be nerfed for 25.9, so a ton of other mages are going to be getting weaker due to that. Hui doesn't build Rod though, so he walks away unscathed and in a better spot overall. Hui is definitely a champ that's going to take you a little bit more time to learn than your average mid laner, but once you've got your basics down on the champ, he's really rewarding. Early game, Hui doesn't really have too many terrible matchups because he can use his longer range to secure farm and stay at a pretty safe distance. Now with that said, Hui does still lack a gap closer, so champions with longer range dive threat can be more difficult to space against in fights, so using your ban on Zed or Katarina is really going to be good value. The scaling strength of Hui is incredible, as his mid to late game teamfight impact is amazing due to all of his AoE damage. The optimal core build for Hui is a burn build consisting of a Blackfire Torch Rush into Leandra 2nd. You're going to want to grab Comet for the Keystone Rune with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, followed by Haste and Cutdown for secondaries. A great mid lane pick in meta whose relative power goes up for this patch due to the Rod of Ages nerfs is Vex. Rod users are really the only matchups in solo queue that Vex tends to struggle more against, so with them losing power for this patch, it's going to be great for her. Now there are a few key factors that make Vex a phenomenal solo queue pick, being that she hard counters so many meta champs champs. Has the reset mechanic on R, so cleanup potential in fights is insane, while she's very self-sufficient as well, being able to find picks on her own due to the long-range catch from R. Now in the mid-game, you're going to be able to clear out side waves super quick with a full combo, so it helps Vex create pressure on the map and allows her to look for rotational plays where she can find picks with R from the Fog of War. Our challenger mid laner Shori actually just uploaded a new video that details how to side lane effectively in the mid-game as a mid laner, so this is highly valuable to know if you're playing someone like Vex. Playing around the Fog of War is your best friend on Vex because you really want to be using your R when you're not being seen by enemies, as it's going to drastically increase your hit rate on the spell. Longer ranged mages are who you're going to run into more issues against when picking Vex, so banning out Syndra or Hwei is going to be good value. The meta build on Vex consists of a Luden's Rush into Shadowflame's second and Zhonya's or Rabadon's third. Your rune setup should revolve around Electrocute with Taste of Blood, Grizzly Mementos, and Ultimate Hunter, followed by Mana Flow and Transcendence for secondaries. And rounding out the top 3 for mid lane this patch is going to be Diana. When it comes down to mid lane assassins right now, Diana is the best you can play for 25.9. Diana is one of the few assassins that doesn't have many bad matchups for solo queue. But the way Diana's kit works, she does really well into most melee mids. Now, as long as you're playing around W cooldown with Diana, winning short trades early on in lane is not going to be difficult at all. You could also take Bone Plating as one of your secondary runes, so whenever that's up, you can trade very aggressively. Ranged matchups are a bit more difficult early on, but with the range from Diana Q, she doesn't have to lose out on a lot, as she can just farm with that and scale up to at least level 3, where she could begin looking for favorable short trades. For your ban when picking Diana, Yasuo is going to be a pretty good option in meta, as his Wind Wall does a really good job at countering your trading power in lane. The core build for Diana consists of a Storm Surge Rush into Shadowflame's second and Zhonya's or Rabadon's third. It's Electrocute for the Keystone rune with Sudden Impact, Grizzly Mementos, and Treasure Hunter, while Shield Bash and Bone Plating are for secondaries. One of the best solo carry ADCs as of recent who's back in the top 3 for another patch is Lucian. Now that Lucian is in a good spot after his buff from a few patches ago, he is an amazing pick for solo queue. Lucian is one of those ADCs who can make plays on your own a lot easier compared to most ADCs, and if you get an early advantage, pushing that lead yourself and not having to rely on your support, it really does feel great. You can even easily 1v2 with Lucian post level 6 because you can open up with an R on the enemy bot lane, chunk someone to below half health without taking any damage yourself, and then be able to threaten for a kill on the next wave. Now, what makes Lucian even better right now is the fact players have actually started building him correctly over the past few patches. Infinity Edge second is far superior to Flicker Blades on Lucian, but for the longest time, Lucian players had heavily prioritized Flicker Blades in that second slot. Infinity Edge as a second purchase is so much better when it comes down to killing squishy targets, while Flicker Blades only marginally wins out if you're hitting a bruiser or a tank. And we know this because our new ADC itemization course, where we extensively break down the best builds for every single ADC with side-by-side damage comparisons of items, so you know exactly why one item is better than the other. So definitely check us out if you never want to build wrong on your ADCs again. Since Lucian is a shorter ranged ADC pre-6, laning into longer ranged picks like Caitlyn and Ashe can be a little bit more difficult, so using your ban on one of them is never going to be a bad idea. The best rune page for Lucian revolves around Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cut Down, followed by Free Boots and Biscuits for secondaries. So it turns out that the 25.8 nerfs to Tristana did not do anything to reduce her power level a significant amount, so she's back in the top 3 for this patch. Now, we like Tristana for solo queue for similar reasons to Lucian, as she's one of the few ADCs who can actually make things happen by herself and punish enemies for mispositioning. You just have more agency over how games play out on Tristana as opposed to many other ADCs, so she's a really rewarding champ to learn right now. Build-wise for Trist right now, what we found when uncovering the best build for Tristana in our ADC itemization course is that Yuntal will be the better scaling option for Trist, but in terms of a one-item spike, the Collector can be stronger. With a full burst combo at level 6, the Collector deals more total damage in DPS, so especially if you're paired up with a melee engaged support or a mage support who can provide a good amount of damage themselves, opting for the Collector for better snowball power is going to be a good play. Now, if you're with an Enchanter though, or if you can take an early base on greater than 1300 gold, that's where Yuntal really has the most value. One of the bigger downsides to running Yuntal is that you really need to base with 1300 gold so you can grab your BF sword, and if you can't, it makes going the Collector more optimal due to the long swords you can stack. If you can base with over 1300 gold though, BF sword spike is going to be better than a serrated dirk and a dagger, so a lot of the time it'll just come down to how much gold you base on as to whether you build towards Yuntal or the Collector. The only time where we disregard this thinking is if you're in a matchup where you don't think you have any kill threat at all, and in that case, running the Collector doesn't make a ton of sense if you won't be able to leverage its early game power, so going towards Yuntal, even if you base on less than 1300 gold, would be the play so you have a stronger mid to late game. So core build for Tristana will consist of either Yuntal or the Collector Rush into Infinity Edge second and Flicker Blades third. Since you want to be able to play aggressive in lane with Trist, banning out a support who can match that aggression and neutralize your early game power is going to be a good idea, and in that case, Karma is going to be a good ban. You've got options for the Keystone Rune on Trist, as Lethal Tempo will be better if you're paired up with an Enchanter support, while PTA is going to be best in games where you have a hard engage melee support. If you are a Jinx main, then Season 15 has been absolutely amazing for you, as the champ has been the longest standing solo carry for this season. Jinx just feels so rewarding to play right now because you've always got that pop-off potential with the champ due to her passive. Even if you're a little bit behind, if you can get that first passive proc in a team fight, it can completely unlock Jinx, as the movement speed and stacking attack speed allows her to clean up fights incredibly well. Now, in terms of a mid-game team fight ADC, there is honestly no other ADC I'd rather have on my team than a good Jinx. Even with how well Jinx scales though, her laning phase really isn't that much of a drawdown. You don't have the same kind of early game all-in power as Tristana, but the follow-up with melee engaged supports can be amazing due to the chain CC potential from Jinx E. Unlike Tristana, rush item for Jinx is incredibly simple, as it's Yuntal in every single game. You then go Infinity Edge second and Hurricane third. If the enemy team is lacking a significant frontline though, Hurricane value does drop off a bit, while Phantom Dancer value rises up, and PD against more squishy comps is highly undervalued on Jinx. It's never going to be a bad idea to use your ban on a meta dive champ when picking Jinx, and right now, Zed or Jarvan are two of the most played in meta. Your rune page on Jinx is going to consist of Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cutdown, while Absolute Focused and Gathering Storm are for secondaries. So a support who's really starting to gain traction in the higher elos recently and back in the top 3 for a second patch in a row is Fiddlesticks. Fiddle support has been tearing up high elo over the last patch, holding over a 54% win rate in games ranked Diamond or above. He's still great for the lower ranks as well at above 52%, but just not quite as egregious as in high elo. So what are the factors that make Fiddle support so incredibly good? Well, he's got the point and click fear with his Q, and when you get it fully maxed out, it's a 2.25 second fear. Q is the ability you should be maxing out first on Fiddle, and it's what the majority of high elo Fiddle support players are going. The reason Fiddle support has a lower win rate in the lower elos is likely due to the fact most players max their W first, whereas Q is much more effective. A 2.25 second CC on a point and click ability is pretty insane, and it allows Fiddle to play quite well into melee engaged supports. It's really only ranged encounters who Fiddle is losing to in solo queue, so using your ban on Nami is going to be a good idea. The roaming strength of Fiddle support and the presence he brings a team when fighting around objectives is incredible. You're basically playing Fiddle support as more of a frontline disruptor than a significant damage threat, as you rush Trailblazer and go into Locket second. Make sure to run Solstice Slay as the item upgrade and take Symbiotic Souls as your boots. For your rune page on Fiddle, you can run either Comet or Aftershock. Aftershock is best value if you're against a more bursty bot lane duo, where the added durability is nice to have. Otherwise, you can run Comet for stronger poke in lane. The longest standing solo carry in the support role back for another patch is going to be Braum. Braum is one of those supports to where regardless of if you win lane or not, his kit provides so much value that as long as somebody on his team is doing well that he can play around, he's gonna bring great value. Braum loves being paired up with melee fighters, as skirmishing with him is as close to a guaranteed win as you're gonna get. Top lane meta for solo queue is just all melee fighters right now. No tanks and no AP carries in the top 10 most played, which is perfect for Braum. It's a similar outlook in the jungle as well, with the top 9 most played all being melee fighters, so Braum's thriving more than ever in this current solo queue meta. And of course, the cherry on top is Lucian being an OP tier ADC right now, as the Braum-Lucian duo is one of the most reliable that you can play. Now, we noted this in last patch, but just want to mention it again in case you may have missed it, but look to take Heal instead of Ignite on Braum. Heal Braum is winning over 2% more than Ignite Braum, and it's what our challenger support Rhino has been prioritizing on his Braum. The core build for Braum consists of a Locket Rush into Knight's Vow second, while Solstice Slay is the item upgrade. Matchup-wise for Braum, you want to avoid playing heavy poke-ranged bot lane duos, so banning out an ADC like Kate or Ashe is going to be good value, while Karma is a good support to consider banning. You should take Guardian for the Keystone Rune with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, followed by Biscuits and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. And oh yeah, Unflinching is buffed for this patch too, so as if Braum wasn't already strong enough, he's getting even better for 25.9. Fresh off her buff from 25.8 and taking the lead as the best enchanter for solo queue is Sona. Q getting 20 added damage at max rank was really nice for Sona, and because of that buff, you really want to be maxing your Q out first to take advantage of it. Lots of high elo Sona players have swapped over to maxing Q first, but the majority of low elo Sonas are still maxing their W out first, so definitely look to make that swap for 25.9. With the Q buff and also taking Bloodsong as your item upgrade, the damage output of Sona is actually surprisingly high. Compared to most other enchanters, something that makes Sona a more attractive pick is the fact that she has the ability to start fights on her own. This is something that enchanters like Soraka, Lulu, Janna, and Milio lack. They just don't have that engage tool where Sona with her Flash R can capitalize on enemies' mispositioning better than any other enchanter. And at the same time though, you still have all the other perks of an enchanter, as the heals and speed boost you bring to your team in the mid to late game are absolutely incredible. Sona scales insanely well into the mid to late game, as it's only her early laning where she can be exploited more. Now, for this reason, prioritizing your ban on a hard engage melee support is often the most optimal way to use it. And if we go off who's being played the most in meta, Thresh or Nautilus are two of your better value bans. The best core build for Sona consists of an Echoes of Helia Rush into Moonstone second, while Bloodsong is the item upgrade. Roll with Aerie for the Keystone rune, followed by Mana Flow, Celerity, and Gathering Storm, while Presence of Mind and Haste are for secondaries. Okay guys, one last thing. Our rank up guarantee is absolutely insane. It's kind of like signing up for the gym and then just getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with the top players, the rigorous testing, and top-tier video editing to make your climb as easy as possible. If you're ready to level up, just visit skillcapped.com and literally see the difference. So that is going to wrap up everything for our latest update on the best solo carries for patch 25.9. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon.